Hey everybody, DayTraderRockStar here. It's a Friday, polls on the air. Jumping in on starting this video early, starting with some research. The bot has been super busy. It's identified a divergence right here, and I wanted to bring this video to your attention here and want to do a live video on this. This is a pretty decent wedge pattern, what we call a wedge pattern divergence. And these are typical, very, very good setups. Now, the low, the lower low, a much higher low there. Had a couple false ones here, low and a lower low, and I think that, in the beginning of the day here, a little choppy, but this is a really good one. What is our rule? When we have a two pivot above us, two pivots, we can make that straight line. If we have a channel line or a trend line above us that's in a decent channel and we have a divergence, the divergence will pretty much predict a breakout of the underlying channel that we're in. So we're going to look for this to break above 52. So I got, actually, there is a bot trade on it. I'll move this over so you can see a little of it right now. There it is right there.
Order filled.
All right, and it had a trailing stop, so it just took it off for a little profit there. Just what you just heard. Let me see which one that was. Yeah, that was a trailing stop. And it's choppy. It's choppy. I still say we break higher off of this that level. I think we break higher off of that level there. We started breaking through that 52 area. We did actually get through that. But I do think, just because of the algorithms and the bots here, we probably will chop around a bit. But overall, the divergence here is really nice. The VWAP is nice. Expect a little bit further move higher off of this move. So we'll watch it for now. I am long. I just took a long in Altria. And now Altria is the first one we're going to talk about today. Absolutely love it. I load up on it. Actually picked up calls on it. And I want to bring the chart up for you right now. It's just such a good setup right now. And typically, because the watch list goes out every Friday, sometimes we miss that retracement. And when I talk about retracement, I talk about a really good, strong channel line, trend line, whatever you want to call it, the lower trend line. Once you establish a bounce and we come down and we test it twice, you can put that nice trend line down, and we come down and test it a third time. That's great. Lots of times we'll get the bounce, you think it's good, but we come back and retest it one more time. That is our big buy zone. And lots of times we'll look back at a chart and say, wow, it came back to it and then bounced, and now it's too far. This is one of the good times that we are able to actually be right on top of this as it's hitting this trend line. So those alerts went out. Everyone should be in it. It's looking great. I think we try to just run with this one as far as we can, and take profits. I'm gonna do the chart on this. I see this breaking through the 20-period moving average. There's some resistance up here in that 50 area. So we're gonna let this thing get up to that 50 zone. Hopefully get through 50 into that 50 low 50s, maybe even up to the 50-period moving average, which is in the 52 zone. But that's just a new trade. That's going to be on the HPS watch list as one of the best bets. All right, well, just to update you, been doing the research and also doing a lot of trading today, as I usually do on Friday, because it's not as distracting. So we're doing pretty good. Markets are at the highs, and this is going to be after the day will be over by the time you get this. But just some views on this. We had a spike. There was some more rumors about, I think, China news came out, so the market kind of spiked. That's service now right now. I just sold that, but we had a little spike there, and then we started
Tradeometer NQ over
really trending up. This is a very bullish trend. When we have distance between the price trend and the 20-period moving average. Very strong action going probably into the end of the day. It's just, I think the market's pricing in probably something to get settled on the government shutdown, China. These things are coming to they're moving down and they're coming to a head, I think. And we're going to resolve these problems. So the market's probably pricing that in right now. The good part is being long into it. You know, so I did take some profits today. Most of the HPS watch list worked out. We'll go over that in a second. But I want to go over again, kind of the official announcement of MO making it back on the watch list. Altria, I love the Altria setup here off the lower trend line. Probably in recent HPS videos, I always talk about this lower trend line and how sometimes I miss it. And then I look back at it, I'm sorry, I just need, you know, that's why we do the zones and we get an alert to give us that on the HPS. Sometimes that's the better signal, which I do have that on some occasions. Anyway, we're in it, and I think because of the, I'm not calling this a divergence, we're going to call that WDC, which is the next one up. Nothing about this, just a trend line, oversold, looks good, all right? Now, the other one that we're going to do a chart on is the WDC. And I like this because it does look like a pretty decent divergence. It did give that gap down after a downgrade. I thought that was overdone, so I started picking it up here. Then it kind of flushed yesterday, but today is a big reversal, and this is really turning the stochastics up. So any way you look at this, this is I would say very close to a double bottom divergence. If not, I would consider it just because of the strength of today's move, the big fake out, taking out the previous 5 days. Everything here looks like a bottom, and I'm going to say that this is a very good signal right now. So I picked that up a couple days ago, and then I just added to it today. I just added more calls on this, and I'll chart that one out for you, give you the targets on that in a second. All right, as I'm putting this stock together on the HPS watch list, I go back to my old chart of it, and I see there was an old HPS setup way back here, back in the channel, from that breakout up to the top of the channel, which was good. And now we look back at it, and we could see the price all the way back down here. I just want to give you a different perspective of the chart, because you could see how the value comes into the stock when you start to see the extension off of, you know, it just, you'll see these moves, and they're not that, you know, you could probably measure them out. I'm not saying how, maybe 20-point moves, 20-point move, 20-point swings. When you start to get down at this level, that's what I'm saying, we're starting to see values, we're starting to see something similar to what happened in the past with this stock. And combined with the lower trend line, combined with the, you know, just the positive candle today, this absolutely looks fantastic. So I already put the stop in here, but we're just going to move these down and set them up new here. I'll probably just bring this down so it doesn't confuse anybody. Let me get that done. All right, here we have the Altria, first one added to it. And again, there's actually a little difference between the trend line on trading view charts versus the trend line on, say, my TC2000 charts. Sometimes you have that. When I'm looking at this chart right here on the, not on the Tilray, which was a fantastic short today, let's go out here on the daily, this one here, because you could see really just a nice trend line. I want to make this, I want to see if I could change the color on this to make it. There we go. So I made a nice red line. It went all the way back to September, perfectly through May, April, May low. Coming right down, we tagged it again. It looks like right in the beginning of, or end of December. Well, it's a small little bounce, but this is the retest and this is the bounce. And this is always a fantastic setup. You can see one over here, same thing. We usually really start to take off. Our second test is always better than the first test. And this looks perfect. Even has the turn back up, you know, everything going for it. I didn't even look at the weekly. The weekly looks great. There's a bigger pitch. You know, you get a different view of the overhead view here, but even the weekly is oversold. So I really do like this one here. I'm willing to, you know, put it on the list. So it's the first one on the list, and that's active right now, and it's at the highs right now. Next one up is going to be the Western Digital, and I'll show you why. All right, so we're going to start off looking at the weekly on WDC. We left off on the Altria on the weekly. The weekly here looks just as good.
Order
Oh,
pending.
there goes the bot going off again, which is nice. It's doing well today again. So you can see this weekly candle tried to sell off a bit, then push back up. There is a slight divergence, as you can see. We didn't really move down on the stochastic. It's very hard to read it on the weekly chart, though. It takes a while for that to move it, to move the scale there. But overall, you could tell there's a little bit better strength here on the weekly. Then we go to the daily, and the daily with this recent events here, there was a downgrade, and then we started moving back up. It looked like, that's where I started getting in here, looking for a divergence. And then there was, I guess, there was some other news out, and it kind of gapped down, but today it comes roaring back and really is putting the divergence in now. If we look at the at that recent low back here and where we came down, it's very close to a double bottom, and it's much higher on the stochastics. So I would consider that a decent divergence, even though it's not a mathematical divergence where the price is lower than the previous stochastic, levels. So so that looks good. Added double down on this today, and again looking for this to go up over time. It is a stock with a lot of, seems to be pressured. Any type of news on this, activist, investor, inside it, we'll see how it moves. It's prime down here. It's prime. We have everything working in our favor. We just need some kind of catalyst to get this thing going. Maybe this is it. Maybe this is the bottom right here. That recent pullback, this divergence, like I said, is divergent. That's what I'm buying it, and that's what I'm using as my criteria, is the turn back up. And with that, I would look for a profit. Well, let me chart it out and show you what I come up with. All right, here's the Western Digital done. It's still at the highs, right next to the highs, and so is the MO. Both of those are high on the list for best bets. And this one, I'm also putting a wedge pattern for you to look at. The divergences there, even though it's not a pure 100% divergence, it is a very good snapback. The weekly's on our side. We have a real strong top trend line, which we're trying to break out of. So a lot of momentum here shifting, and it looks like this is ready to go. I got an early profit zone above us, 40.50 to 42.50, brings it up to the 50. But look at this gap up here. There's no doubt that we could probably end up eventually getting back up to that high 40 area. So that's up to you. But this is our first target, the 50-period moving average. Seems like a good risk reward. I'm in on the calls on this going out, February calls. I think. Let me tell you what I have here. What am I on? The WDC. I have the 3750s and the 40s. 3750s and the 40s. And we're up nice on the 3750s because we were in those a couple days ago. We got in at 249. They're at 320 now. And the other ones we got in at 150 and change. It's 182 now. Either way, still loving it. Loving it to the upside. Everything looks great. It'll be a classic, look back on this one. Let's go to the next one. Here, someone brought up CVS in the room, so I might as well put it on there just to chart it out. You can see there's a band of trading here for most of the last year, and we popped out of it. Now we're back into it. Expect probably some of that same. So your bias is to the upside, and here's your range, 65 to 70. So there's definitely a trading opportunity here on CVS. Just to look at something like that. Just make sure you have the momentum on your side. You have some of the price action on your side. A higher high is important to start your trend off. If you're looking to catch something on the bottom, you might as well wait for that positive development. In this case, we do have that on CVS. So I just want to throw that out again. The other thing we're looking at is because we're getting some nice moves, like the data is moving nice, almost hit its target. And that, I do expect it to kind of break out here. I think earnings are going to be in February. Do we move higher into that? Probably. And still holding on to that. The WB, we're going to talk about that. But first thing I want to talk about is maybe the possible of catching an earnings play next week. We had a great move in team earlier, and then it sold all the way off, and then it kind of popped. I just want to go over some of the earnings with you, kind of update you on. This is Monday, so let's just go through them fast before the market opens. Just taking a look at Johnson & Johnson. Pretty good. Pet Med Express, Stanley Black & Decker, SWK was a nice move today. UBS. After the close next Monday, IBM, Interactive Brokers. IBM a big one. Wynn Resorts. So let's go out a little. Let's go out to Wednesday. Well, actually, Monday's a holiday. So Monday's a holiday. Don't forget Martin Luther King birthday celebration and everything going on with that. The markets are closed. I don't know if that's a birthday celebration or remembrance of whatever. Wednesday, before the market opens, Procter & Gamble. Let's look at some of the bigger ones. I mean, we could take a look at Kimberly-Clark and Procter & Gamble.
Tradeometer NQ oversold.
United Tech, UTX is always a big one too. After the close on Wednesday, Briggs & Citrus Systems, Crown Castle, F5 Networks, FF5V, Ford Motor Company, Las Vegas Sands. Nothing jumping out at me yet. Texas Instruments, Xilinx. Nothing that, we're not talking the apples of the world yet. Let's go out to Thursday. Thursday before the market opens, American Airlines, Bristol Myers, BMY, and anything else here? JetBlue, some more airlines make my trip. McCormick Spices, Royal Caribbean, a Southwest Airline. Looks like a lot of airlines, a lot of travel things here with the Royal Caribbean also. Okay. And then after the close, let's see what we have after the close. So maybe we have something big here. Intel, E-Trade, Intel, Intuitive Surgical, always a big one, ISRG, Norfolk, Southern Railroad, Starbucks, SPUX, and Western Digital, WDC, which I am in. So that we have to consider that. That's looking at a that's interesting. That's next Thursday. And then Friday before the market, AbbVie, Colgate Palmolive. That's about it. So nothing. I thought maybe we might have a big FANG stock out, but nothing exciting for next week. And it's going to be a shortened week too. All right, so let's move on. Doing some research, just heard Mr. Land come out and mention some gaming stocks. So I took a look at the gaming stocks. I started off with the Activision ATVI, and I instantly noticed a very nice divergence here. You start to see that turn back up.
Tradeometer NQ oversold
after the gap down there, and slowly moving back up.
Regulators have met to discuss imposing a record-setting fine against Facebook.
Record-setting fine on Facebook. We won't turn that down. But anyway, this is actually looking quite nice. We actually have the maybe a bottom being put in here with that gap down. The other ones in the sector, we'll take a look at TTWO, Take-Two Interactive, which it's acting a little bit better. It has a little flag. We're holding the 20-period moving average. We have a little reversal candle starting to turn back up here, kind of a coiled stochastic, which means there's usually a larger underlying trend developing when you have that kind of a coil developing. So the coil is a series of higher lows or lower highs in on the stochastics, more than 3 to 4 rotations, and that's you can sometimes start to see that early on in the move. And that's that channel. So we're in the lower part of that channel. To take two, it does look good. I'm going to probably end up getting into this one now. Well, on a diversion. But the other one I want to mention is the Glue Mobile. And boy, did I feel like a chump here. I've been talking this one up since it was $3-4 back here. and now it's double. It's $9. I feel like a chump because I don't know why. Maybe it was the price. I don't know. I don't see myself holding it that long, but at the highs and these apps, these kids are on the apps. I know. I have 2 kids. They're constantly on the apps. How could this not go up? They just have to get a bigger library of games, and here comes the money. So, and then Zynga's another one, ZNGA, and that actually is a nice little flag here. Yeah,
order pending.
Either one of them are it's very nice. This is again 4 and change, and the other one's 9 and change. Both are very strong. I had to make a decision. Or are we looking at the TTWO? I wish I was better into. I like this one better, 107, because I get the options on it. I think we could get a nice move on this to 110 over the next month. Let me take a look at those right now. So out of those, I decided to get into Take-Two Interactive, TTWO, because of the coil stochastic, the defined channel, looking for a move back up. So I just picked up the options. They went out to you in the email. I think they're 110s, going out to about 25 days. I paid $4.50 for February's TTWO. But again, I still like that GLUU. It's I don't know. We'll probably end up looking back. It'll be $20. Give me an opportunity on this at least. Don't let me get it at the top here. That's my issue. That's my issue right there. Anyway,
order canceled.
The bot here is I'm going to take a look at the market, because this is the area where we start to see this kind of grind down, and this we have to understand that I think testing the spot out, I'm seeing the weakness when we do have a grind and we don't have that range, because micro divergences happen here, even though but we have no bounces, and they're not real full divergences. It's almost a coiled setup. This is actually a bearish coil, meaning there's usually an extension on the trade. Let me see if I can bring it up on the SPY. On a 1 minute time frame, you see this? See the series of lower highs here? That's just extension of the channel. That's something similar that we just got into with the WDC or TTWO. And but this is a pattern. This is called a coil stochastic. Now, the one positive thing out of here is this resolves to the upside, and most charts will, unless there's news out here causing this drift off, and then we just kind of flush out. But I would expect, and this doesn't have that big rotation, so I'm just a little concerned being a Friday. But I do like this into the zone. There's no doubt about it. We'll go back and take a look at this in a bit as I finish this. But I would look for maybe a bounce here. But we're not seeing a true divergence. But we are getting over. Let's see what the tradeometer is telling me today. I haven't even checked the tradeometer. Oh, it's beautiful. Of course it's beautiful. That's the tradeometer for you. And again, if you're a lifetimer out there, you get the tradeometer along with your lifetime package. And as you can see here on the ES, which I use it for, and I'm actually coding that today to give us the tradeometer on the bot too, and making a super signal. So we just had a signal right here. We had one back here. We had a sell signal there. We had a couple.
Tradeometer YM oversold.
And we just had one on the YM. The NASDAQ has a few that seem to be chopping up a little, but like I said, there's always 2 that's working, or there's always one that stands aside, and it's a great way of looking at the tradeometer and understanding it. All you have to do is look midday which ones are really keyed in, because lots of times there'll be a market might be tilted because of an individual stock will be in the index that's weighing on it. It's giving it false readings, where the other ones might be just in a kind of a normal flux, and will give you the better readings versus an index that might be leaning one way or another. If you get what I mean. So that just takes time to figure out, and really have to manage that. But that's part of the process, right? We learn about that. Now we're starting to move back up. Like I said, down at this level, when we coil up and we get down to past our fourth coil, that's when we look for the breakout. That's a timing. This is actually a bullish timing setup. even though we can recognize a coil and say it's going to go down, also recognize the timing and when it's going to break out. And it's usually as you come down for your fourth to fifth curl back down and move back up. I always put a trend line in here too. I always put a trend line on my my stochastics and say, this is basically when we're probably going to get our bigger move. It's when that trend line and the stochastics are actually breaking out. All right, so that's that. Got some stocks moving about now. It is 2:41. That's plenty of time left in the day, and I'm moving right along here. So I did get into the TTWO, so I'm happy about that. I'm going to have to bring that up on my screen. And I'm going to have to put a chart out for it. Let's do the chart right now. As we talked about the SPY, TTWO. Oh, God, what just happened there? Did it just explode on me? Let me see what just happened. I don't even have the other good charts up yet. I just got my position in. All right, let's see what it's doing here. Oh.
Order filled.
Keep it on my trailing stop on that one. So the bot here is getting run over now. Keeps on hitting those stops on that downward move. So we have to identify
Tradometer ES oversold.
put that in I want to know. I know what to do on that too. I know what to do. It's the same thing that we do with the tradometer. As if the tradometer gets pushed into an overbought or oversold level, it goes into a shutoff mode. Right now, this is probably in that shutoff mode. Well, it's actually took that short, so it's making money.
Order pending.
Oh boy. All right. So this is good stuff. Either way, I have to review that because of the grind down in the situation here. Let's see which ones are which. I want to see what happens here. I want to bring the bot over for a second. And I want to point out that this is probably the only, again, this grind down here, what you're seeing, very hard to justify and see what's underneath it, what it is. Could be some program selling and stuff. It's not even, I was just gonna say there is a slight mathematical divergence. Typically I want to see it hold here, but this is our first mathematical divergence we've seen since possibly right here. So, there is a shot here. There's a slight divergence there, and there's a slight divergence here. But it doesn't look healthy at all. But the tradeometer, the bot is taking the double signal on this. Double signal on this bot right here. And what do we have? Breaking
Target
news.
filled.
So one target was hit. The profit target was hit. Trump to hold second summit with North Korean Kim Jong-un in February, White House says. All right, so two positions on. First profit was hit. And now we have a trailing stop underneath it. A lot of things going through here. I'm just showing it to you. That could be found on DTR2. The bot here. That could be found on DTR2. And that's just in the final phases of testing. Final phases there of testing. Well, that divergence did play out for a move back here above the. So I'd say we get a little further. You know, I'm going to say we get to that 666 area on that divergence. It's a small. Remember, that divergence will give us a break of the underlying channel that we're trading in. It's actually doing it right now. So that's the key right there. So, you know, patience, understanding what this market does. That's what it takes. You can't be over aggressive in this market. You have to wait for it, the perfect setup, and you have to stick to a criteria that is so tight and you're so disciplined that you feel comfortable getting it. You look forward to it. You see how it works. You do see how this works. I would, you know, with the bot right now, the main thing is you're going to be able to watch that and be able to confirm. It's like, all right, you got an alert. Let me take a look at it. Maybe it's one of these situations where it's getting eaten up, and you say, well, that's not a confirmed divergence like it is here. I want to see a confirmed divergence. I want to see a trade. You know, I want to see that combined with a signal and maybe even a tradeometer buy signal. That is the ultimate. That's going to be. I can't wait to get that done. I cannot wait to have the super signal done. I got a little off track on the HPS watch list, but what were we talking about? We're talking about the Take-Two Interactive, TTWO. All right, here's the final on Take-Two Interactive. Good rise in channel. Again, divergence, coil stochastic, lower trend line. It's a standard trade. I typically, you know, if I could recognize the beginning of a upward channel and a channel like this, I love it. So we're looking for a test to the top of the channel line. There's a 200 period moving average, possibly even higher. I mean, that's definitely a good setup here. So that's what we're looking at right now. I'll go to the next one. And I did get into this one also, so I did pick up the calls on this one. I'm not going to chase the airlines here. We had a great trade off of this divergence down here, a nice run. Channel was breaking out. I expect this to go higher, but I would rather get in on my terms instead of an embedded, which is usually very strong. And again, we still have some airlines coming out next week in earnings. I think it was American Airlines, AAL. They're all going to be, well, I'm not interested in that one at all. So. But just showing you a great example of those divergences. And Delta Airlines didn't really take off. I mean, we were in the right ones. So you have to be in the best of breed. The LUV, look at that move. I mean, that's beautiful. And the ALK, it's flagging out now. That was a pure divergence. But look at the move after the divergence. Huge move right there. Huge move. And if you want to learn more about the divergence, I was just hooking up some people on the Lifetime to get the School of Stock. I have a great course on divergences. If you go to theschoolofstock.com, you will get it. You will see it there. That's where you're able to access. If you're a Lifetime member on our recent sale, you get that included. If not, you have to pay the price, which is very, you know, it's a huge course. Has about, you know, hours and hours of videos and lessons. You could outline. You could see the outline of the course on the site. So check it out, because this is the go-to trade, and this is something that's going to be in your. This is what you need to be successful in trading. Is knowing how to recognize and knowing how to trade these setups. All right. One thing I'm doing is I'm doing a full scan of all my watch list. Candidates here, which is about 207 now, and because I know that's the market has rallied over the last few weeks. Actually, since the government shut down, it's been up tremendous. Go figure, right? But I like to just get a feel for it. I'm looking at different charts here and just going through them. Go by and I'm seeing a lot of things have moved up. Like the MasterCard has moved up. I mean, there's a lot of everything is. It has this upward grind over the last 2 weeks. IAC, McDonald's, you know, Home Depot is a little interesting there. But everything made a big move. And again, we're at a point here where we're trying to figure out what's the best move. Do you chase these, continue to look at further pop in these? Very hard to look at that as it gets extended. But remember, the weekly's on your side. The overall markets are on your side right now. But there is a lot of things that have already made it a big move. So here's Dexcom pushing up here. We're probably going to see new highs on Dexcom, even though we're pushing up against that trend line. And again, Visa flagging out. I always love the Visa. And, you know, if you had we could go back in time, you had a perfect lower trend line. It was pivot, and you just had to buy that pivot, and you're off to the races. And that's what we're doing today on Altria, right? Altria, we're coming back and picking up, lower trend line, lower trend line, lower trend line, failure, retest, pass, off to the races. So love this setup. Very happy to put this as one of the best bets, and it's been just holding up very strong today. So that's why we continue to search these out. I'm not going to, give you everything that deserves to be on that list. State Street Bank popped and dropped. Oh, another one that popped and dropped was Team, T-E-A-M. And I considered this today. I was like, well, big engulfing pattern. Typically, you don't want to get involved with that. But anyway, I'm watching it. All right, so as I went through and I continued to scan out some HPS setups, the market is closed. And after hours, we have an announcement out for President Trump that he's going to be making a big announcement on Saturday. So the market ended up closing right on the highs, as you can see here, they're right on the highs. And, we're expecting good news. I could go back and just kind of point out the divergence that I thought would be the best setup of the day is this really clean divergence. Then you had another clean divergence here, I think we mentioned. We were talking about divergences today. Oh, I was in my sleep because Paul was on the air. So don't mind me. I'm always talking divergences. I think I was talking about it on the video before. Anyway, two good divergences, and, that's what we're going to bring you on the watch list. So that brings me to the next setup. Now, it's just before I even get to the next setup, I was going through a lot of the stocks, going through my scans, and it's hard because a lot of the criteria for longs and shorts are opposite. But I do prefer to go long in the market that over time, trends higher. I like buying the pullbacks. I like buying the weakness. So I have something going for me. I think that's really the best way to trade is to buy quality names in a pullback. So we had identified these levels, but as we can see, I'm going through my list right now, and we've had a nice run, and we could even consider this for the last month. Basically, we've made a run for the last month in all these stocks, and I just went through a bunch of them, like everything that came off that late December, January, and that right after the Santa Claus rally started, or the Santa Claus rally started this, we've taken off. So certain stocks I wouldn't, chase here, even though they look great. It's the Dexcom. I mean, we're right up against the top of a channel line. We've rallied for 3 weeks. It's just very difficult to chase these things. And then you have other stocks similar to those. Visa. Here we had a beautiful, this is why you have to buy the pullbacks. A beautiful bounce. Right now you're consolidating. Here's one that when you have a consolidation holding above the 20, stochastics are kind of embedded, that becomes more of a bullish setup. And we're not that far off the 200 period moving average. I mean, this stock is one of the quality names probably going at, So this is actually looking pretty good for next week. Even though it's not a pure HPS setup with a divergence, it does have the characteristics of HPS playbook plays, which is a flag, what we call a 2020 flag. And just the strength above the 20-period moving average and the quality of name and the relationship to the highs, the recent highs up here. So that does look good. I want to write it down, V. And with that probably goes MasterCard, but I'm just going to go down the list and just kind of show you that everything has gotten a rip here. There's not much that that we didn't look at the right spots, and now at this level, it's very hard to say. There's a lot of resistance above us, and now we're going to have news. And Sunday, we're probably going to get a gap up. It's going to make things a little bit more interesting. Do we continue to rally? I'm for one. If I take a look at the SPX or the SPY, I do believe we're going to take out the highs. But look at the move we've made already. We've moved right down from my buy zone, which was right here. I mean, clearly identified as said between, this 50-point range. And we pulled right down into the middle of it, 2350. And we bounced off of it aggressively. And that's what, that's probably, almost considered a V bottom. I mean, it was a reactionary move right back up and actually going a little bit higher than the recent consolidation breakdown zone. So this is actually very bullish. And I even though it does look like a lot, this is not, our parents' market anymore. Things change, things can move faster. So I'm still very bullish on this market. I don't think the old school technicals are always going to play out like you think. I mean, we are embedded here, but I've seen this market be embedded for a long period and seen a nice run. We've definitely broken back up above the area that we broke down, and that's bullish in any book. So there's a lot of good things here. It's just the extension here in the market here with news over the weekend makes it a little bit more interesting to see how we're going to if we gap up, and if we hold that gap and go, or do we retreat and that's to sell the news because we've had such a big rally recently. The gap up might be the sell the news event. So something to watch, not something to place your whole bankroll on, but something to watch and analyze. I have some great setups for next week either way. I have a feeling the stocks, even if the market pulls back, I bet you that Altria moves higher. I bet you that MWDC here moves a little bit higher. Earnings are coming out, I think, next week on this, late next week or early the next week, but I think late next week. So I want to be careful on that. I might actually take that off before earnings and then get in after earnings. All right, let's see what else we have. I'm trying to fit a lot in here, not make this video too long. As I continue to scan, I ran across Lululemon, and I've never been a big fan of trading this because I just, I've been through the markets enough times to see the product, the big products, the Crocs, these specialty brand name things rise and fall. And at this level back here, I definitely thought, hey, this is getting out of hand. And when it pulled back, I was, it was nothing. I still wasn't watching. I wasn't paying attention to it. But all of a sudden, I look back at today, and I see how it rebounded. Very close to the recent highs. I don't think we get through there. Hence that I think that this is a good area to start establishing a short or taking a shot on a short here. Now, it hasn't given me a divergence, to short side divergence. It ended on the highs. But I would say, maybe a gap up on Monday or Tuesday. Remember, we have a holiday Monday. So any type of move up. I'm going to probably short this one. I'm going to take a shot on it. I'm writing it down. LU. I had some good shorts this year. I didn't follow through on all of them. IMAX. Short here. I wrote it up and wrote it down. Or at least got out of it not in a bad shape. But as you can see, it did rotate all the way back down from 25 to 18. There was some other good ones too. I can't even remember them. But that was one that I remember. So I'm looking at this Lulu here for my next big short. And just saying, hey, we don't get through the highs, or, I'd look at it a little closer. But just based off of this move and the gap up and the possible gap up on Tuesday, I'll look for shorting this one. I'm not going to put any alerts on it yet. And when we do get a reversal candle or something I could start to read off of, I will send out a chart on it.
Machines, also called IBM, will be expected to report earnings on January 22nd, 2019.
All right, you hear that, people? Alexa's my co-pilot, 22nd, I think it said 2019. So it'll be Tuesday, IBM. I was thinking about the IBM trade, and I kind of like it here. It's going to be Tuesday. I don't know if they're going to be in the morning or in the evening, because the market's closed on Monday, so we don't get that opportunity to get into this one unless it's in the morning. And then the market might even be gapping up, so it's going to be a difficult trade either way. But I do like this one now. I was thinking about it. Earnings are coming out. It's holding above that lower trend line. It did chop around, but this had look at this on a weekly. I mean, it's had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. Not even 8 now. 5 years to get its act together. 5 years to kind of straighten out what the hell's going on with IBM. This is look at that weekly. Weekly is actually bullish. It's actually moved up over the last 4 weeks in a very bullish candle. So, I do like this now. Thinking about the earnings on this, they're not going to want this thing to go lower. This thing is priced in a deep discount, and they probably sandbag their earnings going forward. So this looks like a good one. I would be long going into earnings on IBM, and I probably will be if I can on IBM. I'll write that one down too. IBM. Maybe you could remind me Tuesday morning. I would like to take that trade, get back up to 140 on IBM after earnings. Oh yeah, that sounds good. All right, what do they close out? Let's actually take a look at that. I'm going to take a look at the. Let's actually go out to. Right here. 28 days remaining, February 3rd, February 15. It's 120. We're looking at a move to 140. All right, so 130s are $1 and change. No, that's here it is. Don't mind me. I'm just talking on the mic here. Our IBM is about 123 right now. 123. The 120s are 5.95, but let's go out here to 125s are $3. The 130s are $1.15, and that's going out to February 15th, the monthly options calls. That's not bad, I think this thing could get up to 140 actually for some strange reason. I think I want to be in this. I want to be in this on Tuesday. Either the 125s or I'd go with the 125s. Three contracts. I think I'm going to do if I get it around this price, which I don't know. All right, so that's what we're going to plan to do. All right, so I'm back here, and I actually decided to go live on the radio. So I'm recording this live. And, part of the HPS watch list and also part of the, just the general education you get here. And this is a great example of there's two, we talk about our number one go-to trades, the divergence trade, continuation patterns like the flag is probably up there as probably the second. And any type of trend line retracement, it would be number 3. Lots of times I'll use the 200. Here we had a great example of this trend line coming down. And is this on? No, I don't think it's on my chart that I wanted you to see. That's weird. Hold on a second. I was using a different broadcast. Now it has different windows and stuff I have to use if I want to look at different things. I don't know. Anyway, I'm back here with you. I want to get that chart up here because just like we have, this top trend line comes down. Everything about this JP Morgan chart is textbook. You have a 200 EMA breaking through a perfect channel. That means you buy the lower channel line. We call that. And even if it comes down and it's an old trend line and you have a pivot area here, this one wouldn't have identified it, but the X marks the spot with a support line there. Really would have identified that zone if you would have just made a parallel line down. This is where you would buy it. And with the 200 going through, it just falls into the HPS setups. And then we pushed up, tagged it perfectly. We put the trend line in there afterwards, but it found out that it tagged it perfectly. Came down, broke down through it, popped back up it, above it, and then flagged out. And that flag is important because that's kind of the retest of that trend line. And then I would say, again, another higher probability type of setup is when you break down through a channel, break back into the channel, hold that channel line. And that's where we are in a lot of stocks at this point. A lot of stocks that I'm going through, you'll probably see that. I mean, a lot of them I don't have charted out exactly to levels, but in some cases you will see that. So that's what I'm basically doing right now, going back and seeing if there's anything really standing out. It's kind of a divergence here in Con Ed with that spike down and reversal. It held above the 20 line, way above the 20 line up here, and it started moving up. It's just a utility stock. You don't tend to feel like that's going to give you good moves. Merck is always a great one. But again, we have a strict criteria, know what to look for. Qualifying for that, I think, are the video game makers. Here's a target with an inverted head and shoulders pattern. That's pretty nice. But same here with Kohl's. So you notice that the retail stocks all have that similar pattern, that basing pattern. I don't trade them too much, so I kind of pass on them. CVS, we talked about that today. One of the members brought that up, and I talked about it earlier in the video. It actually does look pretty good with the momentum shifting. And again, you know, another key to trading, when you have a downward channel, you might as well wait for an up, you know, an up candle or a candle that breaks above the previous high and closes above that, and then take that position, because the odds are you're going to get that follow through. But not until you get that, you know, the trend is down. But there's usually a better chance of getting a follow through once you make that higher high. So add that to your criteria and tighten up that criteria. So I do like it down here. I don't trade this one down much because for some reason I just seem the timing is off on mine. So let's continue on. I'm on 108 of 207 stocks. I don't mean to do this with you as the HPS watch list, but there's our coup. I mean, we were banging the table on that, and that's completed its move. So we have to wait for a better setup. Dobie's always an interesting one. So the beer stocks looked interesting. I was looking at Sam Adams before. I don't know if I mentioned it. It looked like a little divergence here, so I don't know if I mentioned it earlier or not. It might have been over in 6 hours since this video started. You can see, you know, almost a lower low, definitely a higher low there. I'm not going to even pay attention to that. I had to get back all the way here. All right, let's just go back then. Let's see. See, I have no desire in file. So Line Gate Films is always, you know, it's flagging out. Looks like it wants something to happen. These stocks have been devastated. You know, again, the only one I see that's probably overshot itself is that Western Digital and Seagate. That's why I'm in that one. Everything else here, I mean, the Corning is. Here's another good example of that lower trend line. Test and a retest and off to the races. That's what we're looking for again on the Altria. Test and retest and off to the races. So I'm super excited about this. You know, I'm not seeing anything else that's going to beat these for right now. And plus, we have a news-driven market, so we might just leave it at those. Let's revisit those and see what we have so far. We still have some other ones that are active, so let's go through them all. All right, let's do that. All right, so we're going to finish up the HPS watch list. So far, the current watch list looks like this. Went over a lot of these. The Take-Two Interactive added for this week. We'll take a look at it fast. Move it over a little so you can see the whole chart. Sometimes it's hard to see the whole chart the way it comes up on the screen. I gotta just capture part of it, but I'll capture the main part. This is TTWO, rising trend line, everything looking good. This is where we sent it out today. So it did trigger today, and I got in it today, and I still think it's fine for, you know, beginning next week or in a good zone. You're looking for a higher zone there. Everything looks good on that. Fine. All right. And then we have, let's see here, let's go back down here. Let's take a look. WDC. Why didn't this... Oh, you know what happened here? We did take the position in here. I mean, that's no problem on that. But the problem is we're looking for a little pullback on this. And I just sent it out. So, you know, even though I'm in it and it looks great, I put the alert on so there's a little pullback. If you missed it, might as well wait for a little pull. It was a big candle. Typically, we got to get a pullback into the candle on this. There's also earnings out next week at the end of the week. So I'll be a little more careful on that. And I, you know, just with knowing their earnings are out, I probably would lighten up on this position going into earnings. Hopefully get a nice move on Monday with the news and everything. This is a nice reversal candle. And maybe hold a little into earnings. The nice wedge pattern, everything points here to upside. I mean, great close. Everything looks great. Very happy to bring this as another best bet for you. A best bet for the week here. Next one is Motorola. And again, two different charts on this. Kind of give two different, they're the same story. Just pretend this trend line here is a little bit higher on the other charts. It came down almost double bottom. Just a nice rotation back up. And everything looks good here. You know, everything about this big candle. Again, having a big candle, upside candle usually gets some follow through. There's a possible 14-3 divergence. We already have the 9-3 turning back up aggressively with some good motion there on the. So I'm definitely looking for upside off of this. So this is also great, and we doubled down on our position today. Let me start that over again. I just got the match.com up here. And even though we're bought into the candle here, because I like that reversal candle, I said anything breaks through that reversal candle, we're definitely going to close that gap. So we put our profit zone up into that gap close. And again, the same situation. Took the trade and took it off on our profit. We hit it today, and then the stock came off. We don't have to worry about it anymore. Love to get a pullback. Love to get another pattern playing out on this, and that's a good thing to do. Is always recheck these charts, which we're going to see in a second. I'm going to go back and take a look at some older ones and see where those stocks are. All right, here on occasion we're going to have a setup like you have here. I guess I should have. That we're looking for, you know, very nice, what we call just a very nice pattern overall, and I like the pullback. I want to show you on two different screens. I want to show you my other chart on this, AKAM. So here was your daily, and this flag here was just hoping for a little pullback, and you can see it went the other way. Never pulled back, just fired up on all cylinders, and it's a perfect channel. Perfect channel. I was hoping to get a pullback, but like I said, not in this situation. We never did. So if we click on that arrow, you see we got a small little, almost tagged it. I think we're off about 10 cents. Let me click that arrow here. You can see how close we came to it. Right there. The low was 62.16, and I think the trigger was 62. So 16 cents away. And then we moved up, and now it's hitting its profit zone. So, I mean, what are you going to do? Sometimes you do, you know, you're looking for a little pullback. Some of the setups today, I was actually looking for a little pullback, and we got them. I am long data, and we got very close to our target. And then today we pulled back a little. We were up yesterday, very close to it. Today we pulled back and then bounced. It's not I thought we had a better candle on this. Why isn't my candle showing up here? Yeah, that was it. That was the candle today. It was a good reversal. You know, we popped and then we dropped and reversed hard and then we came back, and this still looks pretty good. The buy trigger has been hit, you know, and we're right at the buy trigger right now, so it's currently active. Currently active trade. I think the profit zone looks good. The action today looks good. There's an underlying trend line for a safety trend line, and then the stop underneath it. So it does look fine here. That's currently active. Here we have JP Morgan, which is currently active too. The original trigger wasn't hit until just a couple days ago, and now we're holding above that buy zone. We have a couple trend lines to watch above us. I think that's a good target, is that trend line. So we might even move our profit target down a point, to 104, to 106. But we're very close to that anyway, and I think we get to that. So no problem on that. That's currently active. Last but not least is the Eli Lilly, and we broke out of our buy trigger, and it's slowly moving up. Again, I think this is a good IRA play. That's why I gave it a very liberal stop and a wide channel here. But I think overall we're going to be looking at a move higher. So this is actually our buy trigger now, and it's on its way right now. So it looks great. All right. Well, I just did the rest of my scan, and I tell you that the top two, I want to stick to those. Feel really good about those. The other positions are good. I'm not seeing too much more, and we have news out over the weekend. So we'll see how we open up on Tuesday. Remember, a shortened week next week. We have earnings that we might be looking at end of the week. The IBM I'm looking at. And there's some other ones, the Visa, Lululemon possible short, the IBM possible long, and everything else is good to go. So thank you for paying attention, and I understand this is probably our last watch list for the open house. So if you're out there getting this and you're not part of the membership, Day Trading Radio, please check it out. We have a great program, and lots of traders working together each day. Every week you get the research, you get the dashboard. You have to check it out, what's behind the scenes. Trader dashboard, alerts, research, chat rooms, indicators, tradeometer, everything. It's an amazing group of things that you could get. All right, enough of that. That's it. So let me turn this off and send this out, and we'll see you Tuesday.